the cloud. Okay, so I'm Oscar Nierstrasz. I'm having a chat with Andreas Scheinert about Zettelkasten in GT. Okay, so what is it that you want to do exactly? I understand you have a whole bunch of Zettelkasten that are stored as markdown files, and you're looking for a better place to host them.
Yes. I'm just trying to find a replacement for my my current setup. Maybe yes. Yeah, I can show how that works. That's basically, I have a repository, and yeah, I can show my usual workflow. So this is my Zettelkasten repository, and it's yeah, it's a Git repository, and you can see here a lot of markdown files.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it went through a lot of iterations. I'm maintaining it since about 2014 or 2015, something like that. And I started it with just editing the markdown files online, and I mostly do that still, but I am yeah, sometime in 2018 or 2017, I came across Niklas Luhmann, and his Zettelkasten principle.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was very intrigued by that. And so I started coding a little Java application. And yeah, it started out with just basically, since I have the files here in Git, with a list of commit files, so I can basically search through all my nodes here. I think I need to restart that. Yeah, I can search through the commits. So I have a Java lib which gives me access to the Git data model, and I can search that, but I can also search then on the files. And because I'm not quite settled on usually in Obsidian or Logseq, you have a fixed identity for each settle, and I don't have that yet. But if I'm going to transfer that someday, I think I will use the commits as a basis as an identity for each settle. Yeah, so I have here the commits. So each of these ones is a commit in the Git repository, and I have here some tags. I can, let's see, maybe I can, maybe you can find some small talk here. So I have a very simple settle structure, which is I have a headline, and then I have a tagline, and then when the next headline comes, the settle ends. So that's my settle structure. But the interesting thing is that when I found Luhmann, I also realized that it's very, very important. So it gets confusing with files, basically, because you can. It's interesting because you can put things with different tags, with the same tags in different files, and via this mechanism here, it will show me just all the occurrences of the text. So I really like that. So this is a kind of very, very simple mechanism. Yeah, I don't know if it's transclusion or something, but that's something I would like to have also. And yeah, I think that's. I also started here a little in my Java application, toying around with SVG, because there are also libs for SVG. I really like that. There's nothing too complicated here, but I really like that. So yeah, if somehow we can bring the same, I would be curious to see how far we can get building something similar with G Toolkit.
Okay, I think I have a better idea now. Maybe what I can do is just give you a very quick tour because I'm kind of in a similar boat. Let me just grab the screen sharing.
Yeah.
And move over here. So I've been starting to do a similar thing when, so actually since some years I've been also managing tons of notes in Markdown files, also organized in a hierarchy in a Git repository. And I haven't shoveled them all into GT yet, but what I did start to do is anything to do with GT, I've started putting in my own Lepeter database. So these are all of the notes that I've been tracking for the past few months here, organized in a table of contents. So here, for example, whenever I have a meeting, I start some notes here and keep track of what discussions I've had. And of course, you don't have to have a table of contents, but one thing that's cool is that you can also make use of these tags here. So for example, I have notes here which are tagged with to do or presentation or as soon as possible or all sorts of other things. And these tags immediately become pages as well in GT. So you can have explicit references. So these are all the ones where I've explicitly tagged files, but also there's some implicit references. So if I happen to use the word to do somewhere, even if it wasn't an official tag, Lepeter will detect that, which is kind of cool as well. Of course, here I've gone through the trouble of actually organizing these pages into groups so that I can find them quite quickly. The table of contents is nothing but a page itself, which I can write and organize as a bunch of links. But I don't have to do that. I can just have a completely disorganized Lepeter as well. So for example, there are multiple databases. Here's one that I started for the G Toolkit demos repository. Because I was preparing a lecture, a guest lecture for students in my former class at the university. I'm just giving one lecture there and was preparing some new materials. So I decided to take a log of everything that I was doing for the exercises for the course as a Lepeter page itself. So the key thing is that once you have such a database, so you get a database by default, what I did immediately is said, okay, well, I want that as a Git repository so that I don't lose it, and wherever I am, I can always recover it. So I did that immediately. So my Lepeter database is a Git repo as well. What I didn't do is take my existing notes and shovel them into GT. For the moment, I don't have a way of editing the Lepeter pages when I'm not within GT. I mean, that's something that we'd like to have, but that's not available yet. So, because I usually edit these additional notes on my phone. So what I'm doing is I'm taking some notes that I want to be in Lepeter. I just take a regular note, and later on when I'm actually working, then all the notes that I have that I want are moved there.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to in the Discord, like files, they have issues, but they provide interoperability, and that's kind of nice to just to be able to use different programs. And as far as I saw that the import in Lepeter was for Rome and Jupyter networks. I didn't see what kind of export formats do you support there or are supported as of yet?
So I have to admit that I'm not one of the original developers of Lepeter. I'm more of a user, and I'm looking at how, I'm really trying to see how I can leverage it for teaching material and also to sort of push it so that it can be more generally useful. So this is something that's that I'm also quite interested in seeing happening. One of the things that I had difficulty with at the moment is also some of the editing functionalities. So if I want to take a bunch of Leopard or snippets and move them somewhere else, that was not so easy. So now I've managed to do that. There's a programmatic way of extracting a whole bunch of snippets, and now I can do that quite quickly. Yeah. But it's not ideal yet, but it's moving fast. So if you look at what you can do with Leopard, it's still pretty amazing, even though there are some things missing. What I'd really like to see is some way of accessing and editing the Leopard notes when I'm not inside GT. That's not there yet, but
because that was basically my question. Like when you have you're using, there is some kind of format which is then used, which is not basically the plain text markdown. It's some kind of internal format then, and then you have this kind of back and forth. It's nice to have then the things in the Git repository. That's one thing. That's cool. But you want to access, to manipulate these things.
Yeah. So I mean, these things you can find quite quickly. So here, if I let's see here. Connections raw. Yes, here we go. Yeah, so here, if I go to the actual location of this particular page, this settle, if you will, I can find it in the file system. And here I see the contents. So the contents are not marked down, but stored as stone, a kind of JSON dialect. Or actually, I believe this is pure JSON. But I think maybe what you want is some way of importing all of your whole database, being able to access it within GT, work with it, and then dump it out again in Markdown format. And I think that wouldn't be too hard to do, but it's not something that's there yet.
Yeah. Yeah, and for example, what I would also be interested in, and I haven't thought, I guess, too deeply about it, is like doing nested visualizations. So I don't know if how good there's the SVG support in GT, so that I can say. So maybe I have a graphic where I try to explain with some kind of graphs, some things which are going on, and then I'm displaying some texts from some settles inside the SVG and things like that. I think these, I mean, that's just pulling out some data out of a settle and putting it again into an SVG file. So that shouldn't be too hard. Just finding the right places in SVG DOM, basically.
Yeah. Here, just as an example, one of the things I wanted to be able to do is if I have a rather long page, I would like to be able to sort of grab all of the snippets and programmatically add them to another page. So this didn't actually take me too much time to do, but here's the store string for this page. So this is a piece of Smalltalk code, which if you evaluate it in a new playground here, so this is the code that's generated. And wait a moment, where are we? Actually, I wanted this snippet page store string. Yes, excuse me. I want the page. No, that's not the page. It's this. I'm stupid. Yes, there we go. Yes. I somehow, you said the word Java and it polluted my mind. Now if I grab this code here, I can format it. And if I evaluate it, oops, sorry. This snippet page, And now the snippets that were in the other place have been added here. So this is just an example that if you want to be able to walk through these pages and generate different things like Markdown, it isn't all that complicated. So particularly plain Markdown generated from Lepiter, so single file per page is probably fairly straightforward to do.
Yeah.
There are all sorts of edge cases because there are all sorts of weird snippets and all sorts of extensions to plain Markdown. But if you're not using them, then you don't have to worry about translating them. Yeah. So you basically just have to worry about the kinds of snippets that you're using, which I imagine are basically code snippets and text snippets.
Yes, thankfully, like I think table of contents or something is as far as I go with extensions for Markdown. That's really conservative there. Yeah, but different groupings on different topics based on text and things like that. I think that would be really interesting.
So as we saw, if you just start walking through the file system, you can quite quickly identify. So here, for example, that's not where I want to be. I want to be in my Dropbox location. But why don't I just directly find this in my So here we're in the notes directory, and we could do something like flat collect file. Oh, we got to check file name matches. Oh. So we want the ones that are just text files.
Yeah.
So what is this? You see, I mean, basically you can start walking through and seeing what these things are. So that's a text file. It says an absolute path, doesn't have a name. So self name. No, it doesn't understand name. What is it?
Are you looking for the type?
Yeah, I just wanted to grab the last bit. So path last, self path last. Oh, what's self path? So. So that's an obsolete path. Parents from to is root. Basically, you start walking through and exploring the system, seeing what these things are, and say, okay, how do I extract it? And you go back and play with the snippets, and you continue to refine and create more snippets. So basically, when I start with an exercise like this, exercise to convert Markdown files to Lepiter. And then I just start saying, well, what I want first, let's look for the text files. So I start documenting what I'm doing, and I make snippets, and then I continue to write these snippets and log what I'm doing. So I have a trace of what I did. And this thing is going to be a page in my Lepiter database. It's always going to be there. So I can go back to it. What did I do yesterday? And because I wrote it down and I tried to log what I was doing, I could reconstruct it instead of it being completely lost. So I'm one of these people who can't keep in my head all of the different tricks and gadgets, so I have to play a lot before I can find things.
So that's totally fine. I think
how do I get the extension? I honestly don't remember. So it's an absolute path, and it's a thing that looks like a collection, but it isn't a collection.
Yeah.
But you can explore the class and see, okay, it's in the class hierarchy, it's a path thing. So what's a path? Oh, it has a base name and it has an extension. Oh, that's cool. So let's see. If I say, what's my extension? It's a byte string and it's .text. Oh, isn't that fantastic? So now I can go back here and say flat collect file extension. Oops, can't type either. Extension equals, what is it, a string? Let's just try that. Oh, let's see here. So didn't like that. So why not? As file reference. Okay, these are items, but it's not a collection. And it doesn't support the collection interface, but it's some kind of an abstract file reference. So there's probably something like contents or as collection or something like that. Is there a conversion method? As path. Files? All files? Has children? Has files? Boo, yes. Has files, so it must be, should be all files, or give me the files or something like that. No. It's path. Entries. That looks good. Okay. No. Zoom is occluding part of my visible space here. As file reference entries. So there's an array, but I can't do a flat collect, but let's say entries collect. I can worry about that later. Collect. And then I want this guy. Oh, I don't want to collect them. Of course, I want to select.
Okay, what's the difference?
So collect will apply the block to everything in the list. It's map.
It's map. Okay.
Smalltalk predates all of these cool functional thingies, and they were never renamed. Select just will select the ones that match that condition. So now I've got all of the text files at one level. So I assume that those are markdown.
Yeah.
So assume they are markdown. So then files, markdown files. So now we've, oops. So we got those. So, and now they're in this context. So if I want to access MD files and do something else with them, they're still there.
Yeah.
And now we can start thinking about what to do with them. So the first of these is a particular file, and I don't know, what does it have, contents or something? No. I have to look.
It's rope text.
I was just wrong.
As rope text, you or someone else wrote to me. What was it? As rope text.
It's an interesting. It's a disk directory entry rather than an actual file. So can I convert it to as a file or something? His directory is cute. His socket.
as file reference, contents, and then use as roped text. That's the one you wrote to me, and I also tried, and that worked.
Oh, as file reference. There you go. Yeah. Got too many things open now. MD files first as file reference. And now I got a file reference, and now I can ask for its contents. Okay, so then what I could do is I could decide to split it up. The first thing I'd like to know is, what is this guy? So it's made up. So what is it separated by? So we can look and we can see, well, that's pretty weird. So sometimes it's separated by line feeds, and sometimes, oh no, the line feed does seem to be these guys here.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. So if I have two line feeds, character line feed, string, I still can't type, string, comma. I'll use that to split this guy. Now we got it split up into a bunch of different parts. And, okay, text snippets. So split one of these files into paragraphs by line feed plus line feed. Okay, so far so good. And then create a Lepiter page using these as text snippets. And then we could say, what is it, lib page new?
What is a lib page? Can you explain that?
It's a Lepiter page. So actually, if we inspect this guy, so this is a Lepiter page. If we inspect it, we see it's a lib page. And now I'm inspecting it. I've got the live inspector, and these are its snippets. This is the raw view. So these are all the Smalltalk instance variables. This is the meta view. So this is the implementation of libpage. But I can also click here and browse the class in a new tab. And I can also get a coder view of it instead of an inspector view. Here I can see its actual class hierarchy. And one of the things that's important for is, as I recall, if I want to add snippets, I can add it. Add snippet. Here it is. So it's not in this class, but it's in its superclass.
Okay.
So if we go back here to wherever the heck we were. Oh yes, I was inspecting this guy. So get a new page, and then a page colon equals Lepiter new page. There's a page, and we're going to, what we're going to do is these text snippets, and we'll each of them paragraph. I'm inconsistent now. A page add snippet paragraph. And then we want to inspect the page and see what it looks like. Like that. Issue add snippet. Why didn't it like that? Ah, yes, I remember. That's because it's not a snippet. What was it? We wanted it as roped text?
Yes.
I didn't like that either. Why not? So one thing is, you shouldn't be afraid when you see the debugger. So basic add snippet, new snippet. Oh, because we didn't create a snippet. So how do we create a snippet? Let's see if we can figure that one out. So let's inspect this snippet. So this is a snippet. It's not a text snippet, but that's fine. And how do you create a snippet? There's a class hierarchy of snippets. So we have textual snippets, and I don't want a code snippet, but a plain text snippet. There it is. And are there any examples? There are probably examples somewhere, but oh. Yeah, with string. There it is. A le text snippet with string. So let's get too many things open again. So le text snippet string bar. And now we got it. So now if we add a page add snippet. Take care of the, and then we want to see the page. Like that. Oh, because we already added some junk. That's why. Yes. There's a corrupt thingy. Yeah, now it's okay. Okay, so what we want to do is we want this
to be that.
To be that. And we don't even need the as rope text because it's a string. There. So we've created a page from what we didn't do is we didn't give it a name. So it's a named page, but it doesn't have the proper name. But if you have the names in your files, you can easily extract them. And then once you have these pages, you can go to your Leopardoo database. I always forget how to do that. Let me see, add some duets. But basically, if you have this snippet, so this snippet is literally this snippet that says this snippet. You can go to its page. So there's the page in which this particular snippet is embedded. That's that page, which is this page. And then from there, we can go to the Leopardoo database. I can look it up, but what is it, database? Database? Yeah, okay, so this is the database that this guy is sitting in, because there are other ones. And then from there, you can navigate to the logical database. What is it? Logical database. And from there, you can find the other databases. Database named, for example, database with a particular name. So you've got a whole bunch of different databases here. Yeah. So the ones I get by default, you get your default one, you get the Glamorous Toolkit one. And I had one that I created for the G-Toolkit demo, so I can find that. Just for fun, somewhere here, I always struggle to try and figure out how to do this. So I have a whole bunch of notes on things like this, like how to clone a Leopardoo page and these things, how to programmatically execute all the change snippets in a page, generate a table of contents. So sometimes it takes a little while to figure out how to do some of these things, but
so this is your database, or is that
that's my database.
because that's really useful now to know how to generate a talk, things like that.
Yeah, so I mean, my idea is that I write these things and at some point I say, okay, this would be useful to shovel over to the Glamorous Toolkit book. But you see, a lot of these are in just a very rough shape here.
Yeah.
Once I consult a page more than twice, I say, it's probably useful for other people, and I'll move it to the book. But I don't want to clutter the book with too many things. It's just going to be noise. Noise isn't helpful either. Yes. So here, for example, you can find the default logical database. But the key thing is that you can see here that you can create or access or look for a particular database. You can grab each of the you can find the markdown files, rip them apart, turn them into Lepeter pages, and then load them in and create a database. So, I mean, we could continue to do that, but it would take us a little bit longer, and I'm not super fast, as you can see, because I always have to figure things out on the fly. I don't have it cached in my brain, but it's not that complicated. What would be more complicated is once you have such a database, you can do some reorganizing, and then you want to dump it out again as Markdown. That's not there, but it should also be really easy to do. So, I don't know, let's have a look. So here we have
kind of writing a custom export,
So this is the page. No, that's the foobar one. I don't want that. It's not interesting. Okay. To get the markdown back again. That's actually not so complicated. So we have the page, and I guess it has snippets. No, it doesn't. Let's have a look. It's a little page. I have all these things here open. Let me close some of them. They're just in the way. I have too many tabs open. They just bother me. Right. So there's a lib page, and how do we find all the snippets? Accessing, private accessing? No. Content should have snippets, so it has snippets. So let's see. Children? Oh, wait a sec. Let's inspect this guy. Oh, this is useful. So there's there's a view called snippets. So if I Option Shift click on this, I can see that. No, if I Option click on it, I can see the snippets here. So I can see that snippets is not snippets, but it's children. So now I can go to this guy and say, hey, self children. So those are all the children. And each of these guys is a text snippet. And how do I get the text out of it? Oh, so there's the string view. So let's have a look. Self text. Okay. So self children collect the text of each of those guys. And then I can, what was it? Oops. I can grab this guy and use it to join them back together again. Oh, join is implemented where? Character join, object join, ordered collection join. That doesn't work. Let's look at this guy. Yeah, it's an ordered collection. Oh, maybe I'm doing it backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm doing something wrong. Not indexable. Oh, that's why. Yeah. Yeah, I was right the first time.
Yeah, that looks like
original thing back again. So this is assuming that the children, the snippets are not nested. Because if I have indentation, here's a nested snippet as opposed to an unnested snippet. So this is just a naive thing, assuming that your pages are completely flat, and then you can collect them all and put them back together and not do anything special. But if, for example, some of these are not text snippets, but code snippets, though, then I don't just want the text of these guys. So here, for example, let's see what happens if we do the same trick with this page itself. So a page, instead of, I do this snippet page, children collect text. Yeah, it doesn't like that. Oh, that's because I'm, as always, I mistyped. Always mistype this snippet. I should just implement that to recognize that the end is up.
There's an alias, yeah.
Yeah, so here, if I do the same trick with this page, that's not proper markdown. Right? Because I'm ignoring the fact that some of these guys are not text snippets. So what I could do, and this is really ugly, which I should never do, is do some type checking. I should do it in a, I should really implement methods on the snippet side, but is
trying now to bring some blocks around the code.
Well, you see, this is just duck typing.
Yeah.
So the argument to collect is a block.
Yeah.
And when I gave it a symbol, the symbol was duck typed to pretend to be a block that would send itself, ask each object to perform that as a message. So if I actually look at the implementation of
the block.
What was it? Text. So if I inspect that guy and look at the meta side, there's a method here. Well, actually, it's not here. It's in the superclass, which is value. This is scrolling very slowly. I don't understand why. There's something funny with the. There it is. This is duck typing. So value is the message you send to a block to evaluate it. And if I send the value message to a symbol with as an argument an object, it just asks that object to perform itself as if it were a message being sent to it. So this is a cute trick that would save me from writing all this code. Snippet text. Something is wrong here. I got, yes. So the code that I wrote before is absolutely equivalent to this, but this is rather verbose. So by doing the duck typing trick, I just wrote that, and it's completely equivalent. Just more compact, easier to read. But if I want to do something other than just send a single message to the snippet, something more complicated, then I do need a block.
Yeah.
So in this particular case, I'm going to do something really ugly. Snippet is kind of, what is it? Snippet. It's a LaFaro snippet. And a LaFaro snippet is what kind of a snippet? It's kind of a code snippet. So if it's a code snippet, let's get rid of that guy. I don't need this guy either. Is kind of code snippet. And then if that's true, this is really gross because I always tell my students never to do that. It's a code smell. Asking an object what type it is to decide to do something. You should just send the message to the object, here, please do that. But I'm not going to extend the classes right now. But this is something that I would like to do. So I would like to be able to send. What I would like to write is, instead of this, I would like to write the following code. Collect as markdown. Boom. And each snippet understands as markdown. So just tell the snippet, hey, give me your equivalent markdown. Yes. And right now, I don't have that, so I'm going to cheat. And I'm going to do the following. I will send, what is it? It's back quotes, isn't it? Back, quote.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking earlier. Yeah.
As string, comma, snippet text, comma, character, line feed as string, comma, quote. And if false, snippet text. And if by some miracle I didn't make a mistake, then I actually get, okay, some reason the back quotes aren't appearing. Why is that? Mistake here is kind of. Let's inspect this guy again and say this self is kind of code snippet. It says true, so it should have done that. Well, I did something wrong, but I have no idea what. Do you see it? It says false for all of them. Why is that?
Yeah, it should be a code snippet, right?
Yeah.
Is kind of code snippet. Ah, that Pharaoh's, no.
Yeah, but a Pharaoh snippet is a kind of code snippet. It says it's true. What did I do wrong?
Snippet page children.
Oh, I'm stupid. It's not a kind. It's a class. It's not a. There we go. There. Okay. And now, right now we've converted it, making a distinction between the different kinds of snippets.
Yeah, that's nice.
But what we
can we now feed this the right view into another view which shows that one as Markdown, as actually rendered Markdown? Yeah.
Gotcha. I have to get into the habit of writing down what I want to do so that I document it. Smelly way to do it. There. Okay, so then once you have this, you could dump it back out again as, so when you do the parsing as well, you would have to recognize these and create the different kinds of snippets.
Yeah.
So that would require a bit more work.
But okay. So you can't just say now, take this whole file and just make a markdown of it, because the code blocks are like, I don't mean like just as text, not as really Lapidator things. If you just say, do some markdown out of that.
Oops. Yeah, so this is oops. So this is a kind of a markdown file now, but of course you could dump this out.
No, I mean now, if you now would try, like, you make a new window and then you say it's a text window, and then you say it's a lib page, or yeah, a lib page, and then yeah, you feed it this one, then you would get markdown, right? Oh, I think you
I can do this. I can do this anywhere.
The text snippet, yeah, a simple text snippet would suffice, and this would be rendered as like in bold fonts or whatever. We actually don't use any. We only use the distinction between normal text and the code blocks there, and then markdown. Okay.
Right. I mean, I could take this page and this snippet page, this is a page already, so I could just say self children collect. So now I could generate from this page a plain markdown. So I can do this to any page.
Yes.
I mean, it's not complete, it's just a proof of concept, but you get the idea.
Okay.
And it would require more work to really do it nicely, but
yeah.
I think the point is you have a path of loading everything in. So I would say, just for fun, what you should try to do is see if you can load everything, load all your markdown pages, create Lapidator pages, and add them to a database and play with them a bit, and then see how you could dump all of those pages back as markdown again in a new file directory and see what they look like. See if you get some advantages from that, see what it brings you. And particularly, I'd be interested to see if there's some extensions to Lapidator that would make that a lot easier.
Okay.
I know Sean was also saying that he had already implemented some visitors that do some of the markdown generation. And maybe there's probably lots of things that I don't know about that have already been done. But I think it's good to get your hands dirty and play with it. So do you have experience programming in Smalltalk?
No, not at all. Like, yeah, I'm just on the job. I'm just used to Java and C#, and in my free time, I spend a little time with Scala and Clojure.
Yeah,
but it's as a road, like these are programming languages, and so there you have like libraries, and but Smalltalk is you have the language and then you have the image, and it's this mind bending knot.
what's really different, I mean, from the language perspective, so there's a bit of funny syntax and so on, you use the collections fairly heavily, and they have a fairly functional style to them. They just have different naming conventions. So things are not called map and, and fold and so on. They have different names. But aside from that, if you're used to those concepts from Scala and so on, then that's pretty straightforward. I think what's harder to get used to is just the whole live environment and using the tools and navigating around. As you saw, you have to, I think what's really exciting, and I'm trying to get more into the habit of that, is when I'm doing things, is documenting them as a Leopard page. What am I doing? And if I'm programming, what are the steps that I'm doing? So just as an example here, let me share the screen again. This was an exercise that I was doing for this lecture. And this is a first year programming course in Java. Well, they're using Java, but it's more about object-oriented principles. And when I taught the course, I always had a lecture at the end on C++ and a lecture on Smalltalk. And I'm giving the guest lecture this year on the Smalltalk. So I asked what are the exercises that they're doing. And since they were described in Markdown, I just shoveled them into Leopard. So the whole problem description is here too as a page that just took, I just imported it the way, more or less the way we just saw. And then I started doing the implementation of this Mensch ärger dich nicht, called Ludo in English, and started doing an implementation with designing some dedicated views. The most complicated one was the board view, which with an actual functioning die that had to be done as well. And what I did is I just tried to document step by step the things that I did, even, for example, the searches to try and find what things I'm looking for in the system. They're just snippets here, and I leave them in the documentation of what I did. And then one key concept in GT, which is really cool, is that tests also return values. These are examples. So here, for example, I have empty board, which is at the same, is a test, so it has assertions, but it also returns an example object. So the whoa, something went funny here. Yeah, so this is an empty board on the game, but it has assertions as well. So it's a test, but it also delivers an object that you can expect and then interact with. So you can ask it questions here, for example. So which are the start squares for the third player? So once you have an example, it's not, the test isn't over then. You can actually play with it. And then you can use the result of a test to leverage new tests. So here I start with the empty board and I build on that. So here, for example, I have a game which has already started with the player on the first position. And then, yeah, continue to document what we're doing here. All is, as a Leopard node, as a rather long zettel. I would have actually liked to have made individual smaller zettels, but this actually works as well, having a long one as well. Until I get to the point where I'm getting near the end where I want to start testing corner cases. So what happens when player A has ended up in the start position of player B, and then player B wants to enter the game, but player A is actually there. So I actually have a whole test case which determines that A is in this bad position, and now I want to have player B entering the game at this point, and does what's supposed to happen actually happen, which is that B lands there and A gets sent back to start position. And you can just cascade these test examples in a very nice way. And the cool thing is they are examples which you can then inspect and you can play with. Like I can continue to play the game now. So player B has to roll the die and now he has to move. So we select him and now it's player C that has to continue playing. So it's an actual it's not just a test that's dead when you're done. You can actually continue to work and interact with it and inspect it.
Yeah, the state is basically
have the raw view here, or can introduce
there.
Other dedicated views for this domain object, depending on what I want to do with it.
Yeah, I think it's really for these kinds of explorations. It's difficult. There are a lot of thoughts, a lot of different things coming up for me. Like I have there somewhere in my shelf the SICP book, and they switched. Sometimes after 2010, I think they switched from Scheme to Python. And because they saw there was a great shift in how, they said programmers these days, they don't really program anymore. They're just kind of poking with a stick. They're just experimenting and stitching things together. And so they want to somehow accommodate for that.
What I think is cool with this approach is you can have a little bit of both, because what you can do is we all start to experiment. So start by writing a note.
Yes, of course. No, I don't say you can't do that.
And then I get to the point, okay, now I want to create a class. Now let's make an example. Now let's write some tests. And you slowly bootstrap. And you document it all step by step.
Yeah, I think that's a really useful implementation of maybe what Donald Knuth or other call like literate programming. So you can write human sensitive text, and then you have executables right below that. And it's an interesting exercise in how far you can get the system to, how far you can experiment in a system where you have like a deterministic state, or how complex the state of the system is, which you want to look at, or something like that. There are it's interesting to see. Definitely, for sure. So thank you for showing me that, Oscar. Thank you for taking the time.
Okay, so if you plan to explore more, I'd be happy to stay in touch if you have questions or if I can help in some way. If you don't have experience with Smalltalk, I strongly recommend you go to the Glamorous Toolkit book. Have you done that already?
On Lepeta?
Yes. So here, if you go to the Glamorous, if you just open up GT, go to the book, there's some pages which I did work on. Introduction to Pharo, Gentle Introduction to Pharo Smalltalk. And basically these pages should give you a good starting introduction to how to work with Smalltalk. So if you have programming experience, but you're not familiar with this environment, I would say start there.
Yeah. Okay.
And there's some hands-on stuff there. And that'll introduce you to the style of programming iteratively and live, and how to bootstrap from these snippets to actual code and classes. And then, of course, there are people online in Discord to help you.
Yes. I was very surprised. Like, you're a really you're a small but really a responsive community, and very helpful. And so that's really cool. I have to say that.
No, but I'm also really interested because you seem to have a nice legacy of real settlement, and I'm just wondering what can be done with that, and what could be done better in GT to provide more substantive support for those kinds of applications. I only learned about Zettelkasten myself the last few weeks, essentially, and I thought, yeah, that's exactly right. Because just like you, I'd been for years collecting all these markdown pages, and I wasn't really familiar with the discipline of this Zettelkasten idea. I thought, yeah, that fits really nicely. And I thought, yeah, I should do that in a more disciplined way. So now I'm more rigorously trying to create these notes and organize them in a way using GT itself. Okay,
Yeah.
then I'd like to see where it goes.
Yeah. Just let's see how it goes. And I try to. I cannot really bookmark it, but I take a screenshot or something, and then a gentle introduction to Faro Smalltalk. That's where I start in the book.
Yeah, but it's easy to find. It's right near the top.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for taking the time for this extra lecture.
By the way, you do know that they all have bookmarks, right? So let's go back again.
Yeah, how can I use a bookmark?
Yeah, okay. So here, gentle introduction to Smalltalk.
Copy reference, yes.
Copy. So now I can create a new playground, or actually I should have created a note. Let's create a note and stuff to remember. And then I say, start learning here. And I paste that, and it's a link. And this is in my database. So if you did that, it would be in your Leopardr database. And the next time you open up Leopardr, there's a page called Stuff to Remember. And all you have to do is click on the link, and it takes you directly to the other Leopardr database with that page in it.
Yeah, I saw that.
So that's how you bookmark it.
Nice. Okay,
and of course, you can tag this any way you like. So I would say stuff to do, for example. So you just introduce whatever tag you like. And once you have the tag, you just create it the first time you create it. And then that tag is available for you for whatever pages that have that tag on it.
Can you show again? I was just making the same as you. How did you do the tag?
Okay, so in order to do a tag, every link is double square brackets. So let's say do this. Let's make that a tag. So I've said a link to a page that doesn't exist. The first time I click on it, that creates the page.
It gets created,
I didn't put any contents in it, so it's a page that exists now. But if I have other pages, that if I create another page that also has a link to do this, now I've got two links from here. So if I go to the do this page, I can find all of the do this thingies. These are all the pages that I've created. Some of these pages I've added to my table of contents, and some of them are not. The table of contents also here contains 287 unclassified pages, but you can access all these programmatically. So for example, it's easy to write a little script that looks for all of the pages that you haven't added to a table of contents or aren't in some other page as a snippet link or whatever. So you can extract all the links programmatically very easily. Where do I have that? One of these questions that I had myself. How to query and manipulate Leopardr pages. Yeah. Right. So I have a page of all these things. This will probably turn into a book page at some point. Find all the pages containing a particular kind of AST node.
Yeah.
Find all the unclassified pages. All these things you can do programmatically in a fairly straightforward way. Sometimes the first thing is, how do I do that? And it may take you 5 or 10 minutes to figure out. And once you have it, say, oh yeah, then you save it, or you say, well, maybe this should be a method somewhere.
Nice. Okay.
Okie dokie. Then I'll let you go, and we'll see each other on Discord or elsewhere.
Yes. Thank you, Oscar. Thank you for taking the time. And cool.
It's a pleasure. It was fun. I'd like to see where this goes. Okay. Yeah. Have a good evening.
See you.
Bye.